We had a pet serial killer on the loose a while ago. I'm gonna close my window because Satan might be out there. You never know. So, those clowns won't get my ice cream. You think you're holding your phone and you're texting someone back and you're not. You're texting the demons in your room. What we heard was a weird raspy noise that sounded like a mix of heavy breathing and a really slow burp. Okay, someone just drove down the street and that legitimately jump scared me. So hello everyone, and welcome to my channel, or welcome back to my channel. I'm Jessica Layla. First and foremost, I want to say thank you for 4K. For all of my regular Reddit stories, there is this page on Instagram I follow called Toxic Reddit. And they're a really cool page, because they curate some of the most toxic Reddit stories from across various subreddits. But did you know, fun fact about Toxic Reddit, is that they run multiple accounts. So Toxic Reddit also runs a page called Dark Theme Reddit. Scary, creepy, paranormal, mysterious text posts. Most of it, I think, if not all of it, comes from r/askreddit, which is just, you know, your average subreddit where you can ask people, what's the weirdest thing you've ever seen? What's a song that stuck with you all these years, etc. They have collected a lot of creepy ones, a lot of spooky ones, so I thought we would be checking that out today. Toxic Reddit, I love you. And if you want to give this page a follow, as per usual, they will be linked down below. So everyone, cozy on up, grab your snacks, get comfortable, and let's dive right in with our first post. What's the most inexplicable time your gut instinct was 100% right, even though you had no evidence to back it up? Went out dancing with my girlfriend at the time to an area that has a bunch of clubs and is generally safe, so as long as you stick to the main streets and well-lit areas. We were walking back to the car, and had just left the main street to walk to the parking lot, when I just got this sudden panic feeling and stopped dead in my tracks and started looking around. My girlfriend was like, What's wrong? I said, I don't know, but I feel like we need to go back for a few minutes until more people are around. So we went back and waited for more people who were walking our direction, but actually a cop car that patrolled the area showed up, and I walked over, asked him, can you just walk to my car? It's just right over there. I just feel like there's someone waiting for us to be alone. We walked to the car, and a man with a hoodie and a gun jumped out and demanded our valuables. The cop immediately turned on his lights and siren, and his tires started squealing as he sped over. The dude, of course, immediately bolted. The cops chased after him. I have no idea if they caught him, but had I not had that unexplainable fear and instinct, we would have been robbed, maybe even shot. I still can't explain how I knew because I didn't see anyone, I just felt in danger. My boyfriend and I, at the time, were house sitting for his uncle. My boyfriend was at work, and I was bathing our son before bed. I heard the bathroom window facing the backyard very slightly cracked, and heard a cough from outside. That's actually one of my worst fears, just hearing someone. My window's open right now. That would be so terrifying. This house was in a residential neighborhood, so it could have been a neighbor, but I suddenly felt anxious and scared, and something told me to go make sure the back door was locked. Okay, someone just drove down the street and that legitimately jump scared me. I left my 2-year-old son alone in a towel in the bathroom and ran to the back door. As I placed my hand on the doorknob locking it, I came face to face with someone through the glass who had his hand on the outside doorknob. Oh! He started pounding on the door and jiggling the doorknob, saying he was looking for someone, and I just told him no, they're not here. He kept jiggling the doorknob, and I ran to my son and I grabbed my cell phone to call for help. Remember, I'm house sitting though, and this was in 2004-2005 when they had those flip-open phones, not a smartphone where you can just look at a map. So I had no idea what the address was or where the house phone was. Anyway, I call 911 from the bathroom on my cell while hearing loud pounding on the back door. The dispatchers tells me to find a house phone, piece of mail, anything with address. I locate the house phone and call 911 from that. So I have no idea how police got there so quickly, but just as I hear the back door glass break, the guy on the phone tells me to cover my son's head with a blanket and run out the front door into the backseat of the police car. I ran out the front door and saw 6 or more police cars, all with guns drawn, and straight into the waiting cruiser. After they arrested the guy, they asked me if the machete on the back porch belonged to the owners of the house. The guy had a machete, and had I not trusted my gut that the cough sounded a little too close, and to check the back door, he would have walked right into an unlocked house to a 19-year-old female and her young son, alone. Turns out he had been robbing houses and had a backpack full of stolen things and was high on meth. So anyways, super glad, so followed my gut on that one. What if someone's outside my window right now? Not me, but my great aunt's gut instinct, and it's the reason I'm here to tell the story. We were visiting family in Brazil over Christmas break when I was a kid. One of the things they do in Rio for New Year's is taking party boats out in the bay and watching the fireworks show that they shoot off from the beach. My great aunt and uncle bought us all tickets for one of the boats. When we got there, she took one look at the boat and refused to get on it. Ended up eating the cost of the tickets and buying us tickets last minute for another boat. It cost her a small fortune, and we all thought she was nuts. The boat we were supposed to be on eventually ended up overloaded with passengers, but it wasn't like that when we got there. The water was choppy that night, and it capsized at about 11:45. Dozens of people on it drowned, including a famous Brazilian actress and most of the children on the boat. Oh, that's sad. The phone at my great-aunt's apartment started ringing at 6 a.m. from people who heard the news and were making sure we weren't on that boat. We had no idea what happened until that first phone call. After she got off the phone, which had woken us all up, she looked like she had seen a ghost. Years ago, as a resident, in the end of a 12-hour shift, I walked into an exam room in the ER to see my umpteenth patient that night with cold symptoms. Even though our exam revealed only the cold symptoms, I just knew looking at this 4-year-old that it was much more than that. I got labs, picked up leukemia in an early stage. Wow. Doctors that actually do their jobs? That's crazy. Far more mundane than these other examples. But I almost always have a really strong sense of time. I will set a timer on my oven to cook things, and without checking the start time, I will get up to go back to it about 30 seconds before the alarm sounds. I'm not trying to, or anything. Something just tells me I should probably go check it out. Thank you for sharing. What is the creepiest thing that ever happened to you, but never told anyone? I once had a nap on my couch, a few hours before I had to go to work. I woke up, checked the time, and started to get ready for work. Realized I was still dreaming. I woke up again, checked the time. It was a little bit later than the first time. Again, I started to get ready for work. I was still dreaming. I went through that 5 or 6 times, until each time I woke up. I was panicking since I didn't know if I was awake or still sleeping, but I still got up and started to get ready for work. The last wake-up cycle, I would have been late for work. Creepiest dream I've ever had, even more than my sleep paralysis. False awakenings. I get them from time to time, and they're horrible! You become aware that you're dreaming, and it's like you're trapped in some endless cycle. You think you're holding your phone and you're texting someone back, and you're not. You're texting the demons in your room. A year or two ago, I stumbled upon a subreddit that was populated by quite a few members, but the posts were absolutely nonsense. But they commented on each other's posts as if they all understand what they were talking about. I kind of lurked for a little while, then got bored and forgot about it. A few weeks later, I was talking to someone via chat, and I mentioned the subreddit to them, and out of nowhere, I started getting chat requests from the members of that subreddit. I accepted a few of the chats, and they were speaking to me very aggressively with similar gibberish that filled their sub. I blocked them all and never heard from them again. I don't know what the hell it was all about, but it made my skin crawl. It kind of sounds like that, bot subreddit, where it's just bots talking to each other, and a lot of what they say is kind of like complete nonsense. It was covered in this video, if you want to go check it out. When I was 9, I traveled down to Mexico for my sister's wedding. I had incredibly blonde hair that fell past my butt. I'm jealous. It was absolutely stunning. My brother-in-law is a native, and he, my sister, mom, and I went out shopping. My brother-in-law had gone to another section of the store, and my mother had gotten distracted, and I think I just ran to another aisle. I noticed that 2 men were standing fairly close to me, and when I switched aisles, they did as well. They were talking to themselves. I had no idea what they were saying, so I just kept looking at all of the trinkets. My brother-in-law suddenly hurried over to me and escorted me out of the store quickly. He put me in the car, and my sister walked over to him, and I heard her ask what was happening. He said that he heard the 2 men conversing in Spanish that they wanted to take me and sell me. That's crazy to say out loud. For the rest of the trip, I remember every adult around me being weirdly protective. I was mad about it at the time. I had no clue what that meant until many years later, and then I was like, dang, I almost got trafficked. My brother-in-law is a native Mexican, but he is incredibly white. Like platinum blonde hair and almost translucent Jim Gaffigan white. We all were white. I think they assumed that no one in our group could speak Spanish, and so they were less guarded than they would have been normally, and he overheard them. Thank God for my brother-in-law. By the way, I just want to say real quick, when I take screenshots of the posts, whoever runs these accounts puts music. So there's always that little symbol in the corner. I can't get rid of it unless I like zoom out and have to take a screenshot while holding my screen like this. When I was 14, I was walking in my town, which had no more than 100 people in it. Girl, you living in a village. I noticed that a former neighbor who'd moved away parked at the park. I assumed he was visiting someone and parked there. I walked home, which was like a 3-minute walk to my yard from the park, and he pulled up beside me. I was like 5 steps from my yard, and he tried to convince me to get in his car to see his nephew, who was my friend, and when I told him no, he told me he'd give me a ride all the way to my house, as my yard was fairly large. But it was like a 2-minute tops from there to my house. I kept telling him no, and he kept getting angrier. He grabbed something from the passenger seat and tried to grab the door handle. At the same time, another neighbor came out to see what was going on. He drove off so fast. He kidnapped another girl a couple of months later at knife point. I didn't tell anyone because it was well known he was a creep among the girls in town. I didn't even process that he was trying to kidnap me until my grandma told me he was arrested for kidnapping a girl. Then I felt so guilty that time that I didn't mention it to anyone. You know, not your fault. Creepers are gonna creep until they get caught, and that's an unfortunate truth. But hey, at least there's some justice in people getting caught, right? No. One day, I heard my dad call my name. Weird, but not exactly unusual. He lives nearby and comes over when he needs something, though he usually knocks instead of just yelling my name. I get up and check outside, but I don't see his truck. I walk around the outside of the house, but can't find him. I hear him call my name again, with some urgency like he's getting impatient, but he is not there. I can see his house from my front yard and realize his truck is not there either. I grab my phone and call him, but he doesn't answer. This actually freaks me out because he is great about answering the phone. Called him at midnight as well as 5 in the morning and he's answered every time. He says my name again and I don't even think about it. Grab my keys, get in the van, and take off down the highway. There's a crossroads less than a mile from the road, 2 roads crossing, 4 possible ways to go, including back the way I came. I turned down this little back road and after 3 miles, I came over this hill and his truck was lying upside down on the side of the road. He's alive, but out of it, mild concussion it turns out, his phone still in his pocket. I let him believe it was just a weird coincidence that I felt like going out for a drive that day. That's crazy, because I thought it was gonna be like a mimic situation. Thank the Lord it's not. Maybe there's like some connection to our loved ones. I just feel like someone's outside the window now. I love creeping myself out. I'm gonna close my window because Satan might be out there. You never know. So, what's the most paranormal thing that has happened to you? When I was in a forest alone, then I heard someone calling my name out of nowhere and no one's there aside from me. I heard it like the voice of my cousin, then I immediately ran out of the forest. We have a clock that tells you the time. It's a little pyramid from the 80s or 90s. You touch the tip, it beeps, and it speaks the current time. Horribly, you can hardly understand it. But it does that. It was my dad's. My dad died. So often, when I think of him, it just goes off randomly. It's probably just crappy sensors from being so old, but I swear it always seems to strike right when he comes to mind, and it never happens on its own when he isn't. Building I used to work in was haunted. Lots of weird stuff, shadows, noises, motion-sensitive things would go off when no one was around, things falling off shelves for no reason, all the usual. The ladies' room in the basement would regularly have noises coming from it that sound like several girls whispering and giggling. Nope! Nope! I would quit. You couldn't pay me enough to be in a building like this. If you stood outside the door, you would feel like you could almost make out what they were saying, but you couldn't quite understand it. The noise would stop if you went into the bathroom, and wouldn't happen again until another night. There was also a creepy old man that would stand behind my car blocking me from backing up. He was only visible in the rearview mirror. If I turned around to look at him, he wouldn't be there. It didn't matter where in the lot I parked, he would still show up. It got so bad I stopped looking in my mirror before backing up. Immediately no. Immediately no. Immediately. Immediately no. Oh, it goes on! But the worst one was a night that a coworker and I were the last two to leave, and were locking up. I went to leave a note on the receptionist's desk for her for the morning, and while I was writing it, I noticed on her phone system screen it showed a phone in the basement call center was just picked up. It then showed it dialed another extension in the call center and that the extension started blinking, showing it was ringing. The second extension was then picked up. At that point, I wondered if someone was still in the call center, so I used the call monitor to listen in on the call. What we heard was a weird raspy noise that sounded like a mix of heavy breathing and a really slow burp. It went on for several seconds, then stopped. Then the phone system showed one extension hung up and then the other. I hung up the receptionist's phone, and my coworker and I decided whatever the hell was downstairs was welcome to play with the phones all it wanted because there was no way we were going down there to investigate. Good job. We locked up and left. I did not look in my mirror before backing out of my parking spot. I have a little sister who is 5 years younger than me. When I was around 10 and she was 5, she had an imaginary friend. What is it with kids and their creepy ass imaginary friends? I didn't think much of it because that's what kids do, I guess. That was until she informed us he was a little boy but older than her, and she always sees him swinging from his neck from the tree branch in our backyard. My mom asked her, "Why is he on the tree?" To which she responded, he wanted to see his dad. Out of morbid curiosity, my dad looked up if anyone died in our house. An 11-year-old boy hung himself a few weeks after his dad passed away in a car wreck. I don't like that. I don't like that. Married Redditors, what is the creepiest thing your spouse has ever done? My wife was sleeping in the passenger seat on a late night drive home from visiting her family. Our very young kids are in the back seats, out cold too. Then suddenly she snaps up and grabs the wheel, screaming something about how I, the totally awake and driving just fine driver, am about to drive us off a cliff. She was full strength trying to turn the wheel to the right, which would have been bad. I started yelling, "No, no, no," quickly realizing that wasn't stopping her. I had to full-on NBA rebound the wheel with my elbow way out and shoved her very hard back into her seat. I managed to get a hold of her upper arm and used it to shove her into the door when she apparently still hadn't realized the reality of the situation and made another grab for the wheel. There was a lot of cursing and screaming. It was not pretty. Once she figured out what she had done, she lost it and started gasp crying worse than I've ever seen. The rest of the drive home was pretty rough. I have a lot of, night terrors where you wake up and you're like, my dresser has fallen over and it's spilled everything, and it's the weirdest thing waking up from these things because you were convinced for a solid 10-15 seconds it was reality. One night, my spouse sleepwalked into the kitchen, opened the fridge, and started having a full conversation with a jar of pickles. I'm still not sure who won that debate. Did you ask her what the deal was? My ex-husband had returned from a deployment, and it was a pretty rough one. He was there for Fallujah, and yeah, just tough on him. He was having a hard time sleeping, and was prescribed a couple doses of Ambien to get back on the US clock. I was sleeping, but woke up when I heard a metal shink clink, and saw that he was sitting on the edge of the bed. I asked if he was okay, and he turned his head to me slowly and said something incoherent, then put his finger to his lip in a shush, and slowly turned his head back to face the door. I got up, and he was sitting there, on the edge of the bed, buck-ass naked except for his socks and boots, laced up, holding his locked and loaded AK-47. That was the sound I heard. He'd somehow gotten up, found his gun safe keys, went to the basement, pulled out his AK, pulled his ammo out of the separate ammo box, loaded a magazine, put on his boots, and came back to bed. I was instantly as awake as a human can be. This could go real freaking bad, real freaking fast. I told him it was my turn for guard duty and to get some sleep. He just kind of grunted and fell sideways into bed, rolled over, and started snoring. I earned my ninja badge that night getting the gun away from him. Good job. I didn't sleep a wink because I couldn't find the gun safe keys, so I just kept vigil in bed and read a book, soothing him when he started stirring. He remembered none of it. I locked his gun safe keys away from him for a very long time after that night, and he didn't take Ambien again. That really F's with people. My wife is a sleep talker. It's usually just gibberish, but one when she was asleep and I was watching a movie, sat upright and looked at me and said, "Those clowns won't get my ice cream." What the clown's doing? Slapped me in the face. Slapped me in the face and went to sleep. I was like, okay, the clowns won't get her ice cream. Let's pick out one last good one for the night because I can feel that my throat is beginning to be unhappy. What was the incident in your hometown? My next door neighbor lost his mind and held his wife and son hostage for 8 hours in their house, and the SWAT team was there. Spike trapped his car and surrounded the house. I was only 8 or 9 and, at the start, was more concerned about my ability to go to school because that day was field day. I wasn't allowed to go to school and had to be evacuated out of my house by 4 SWAT members. He ended up surrendering and I missed out on my last field day. You, Joey's dad. I've told this on Reddit before, but one evening in 1974, a high school boy was involved in a very minor fender bender in front of our local theater. He panicked and fled the scene. They found his car several miles south of the town, parked by the expressway with the motor running. He was nowhere to be found. He hasn't been heard from since. All that because of a fender bender? Maybe something was going on at home. Principal was having an affair with his assistant. When the assistant's husband found out, he killed her. Oh my gosh! Their kid was a student in the school. Edit. He killed his own wife for having the affair with the principal. Edit. I was student. And I knew their kid. He was a very quiet guy after that, but slowly came out of his shell. He had a very strained relationship with his dad after dad. Understandable. Huh? He's good now. Married with kids. This was quite a while ago. Edit. Yes, his dad is still in jail the last I checked. Edit. I don't remember what happened to the principal. I remember he resigned, but nothing else. The mayor's aide hit my mom with his truck when she was 13. Guy needed glasses to drive, but wasn't wearing them. The mayor made all charges go away, even though mom was severely injured. That is so unfair and corrupt. Just things that happen in small towns. Her whole family, except for her own parents, sided with the mayor. Years later, one of mom's cousins married his son. We don't speak to or see anyone from mom's side of the family. We had a pet serial killer on the loose a while ago. Oh. Poisonous food was being left for them to eat, and we lost something around 20 of our furry friends. No! The town was in an uproar, and lucky was found. The city police was quick to hand him over to the state police before the town lynched him. I got my hands on you. A landlord called a plumber because of clogged drains. Turns out the cause of the clog was from a fleshy substance, which turned out to be the remains of a missing girl. Tenant ended up being convicted of 2 murders. I happen to know the sister of one of the victims. Rest in peace to them. That is actually genuinely so sad. A football player at my high school died standing in the corner waiting for the bus to take him home from school. The stop sign, located about 2 feet over his head, just dropped off and struck him in the head, killing him instantly. Found out the next day at school. It was devastating. I don't think we have anything like that where I live, but whoa. So I just needed a quicker video this week. I got things going on. I got life going on. I got so many things going on. So I just wanted to have something to keep the vibes going and flowing, and I thought the subreddit was interesting. Obviously these are all darker questions. Some of the stuff on this page is not dark. It's not like scary or spooky or sad. Some of it's just like normal questions, but I wanted to go with the more darker themes for the vibes of the video. There's a little spider on my nightstand. Get the hell off, you crazy. So yeah, that's where we're gonna cut it off for the night. So if you guys want to check out more from this account, it will be linked down below if you want to go give them a follow, as well as to the original subreddit used. You're probably not gonna find too many spooky ones on your own, but you never know. You never know. And if you want to check out more of my Reddit stories and posts, I'm gonna link down to some of my playlists down below. Am I the a-hole? Regular Reddit stories, scary Reddit stories. Oh yeah, the dead internet theory. Oh my gosh, there's just so many things I gotta link to. So hopefully you all enjoyed, hopefully you're not too freaked out, and hopefully I will see you all here next time.